My mother-in-law threw my daughter's birthday cake in the trash. She doesn't deserve a celebration, she said. My husband just watched. Tears filled my daughter's eyes. But then she smiled and said, Grandma, I made you a special video. She hit play on her tablet, and my mother-in-law turned white. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now let's dive into today's story. The afternoon, heat pressed down on the small backyard like something with weight. Wren Holloway stood at the grill, spatula in hand, watching grease sizzle and pop on the hot dogs she'd been turning for the past 10 minutes. The metal folding table sat in the center of the yard, covered with a plastic tablecloth printed with cartoon balloons. Paper plates stacked at one end. Red plastic cups beside them. Streamers in pink and purple hung from the fence posts, taped unevenly because she'd been rushing that morning before her shift. Nothing about this party screamed extravagance. That was the point. Wren had learned years ago that keeping things simple meant fewer things to criticize, fewer targets. The house behind her was a rental, a 2-bedroom ranch at the edge of town where the sidewalks cracked and nobody bothered to plant flowers. The yard was small, bordered by a chain-link fence on 3 sides. A few dandelions pushed up through the grass. The neighbor's dog barked somewhere close by, a steady rhythm that had become background noise. She glanced across the yard. Lila stood near the back fence, arms outstretched, chasing bubbles that caught the sunlight before popping against her fingertips. 10 years old today, still round-cheeked and hopeful in a way that made Wren's chest tighten. Still young enough to believe a birthday party meant something. Lila wore the dress they'd picked out together last week at the thrift store downtown. Navy blue with small white flowers. It fit her well enough. Her dark hair was pulled back in a ponytail that was already coming loose. She laughed when a bubble landed on her nose, and the sound carried across the yard, bright and unguarded. Wren turned the hot dogs again, though they didn't need it. She just needed something to do with her hands. The cake sat on the kitchen counter inside, safe behind the screen door. She'd made it herself the night before, after coming home from the clinic where she worked as a medical assistant. Her feet had ached. Her back hurt. But she'd stood at the counter anyway, mixing batter, greasing the pans, checking the oven every few minutes to make sure it didn't burn. Chocolate cake with vanilla frosting. Lila's request. Simple and classic, the kind of thing any kid might ask for. Wren had piped the name across the top in pink letters, moving the frosting bag slowly to keep the lines steady. She wasn't a professional. The letters wobbled a little, but they were readable, and she'd been careful not to mess it up. The party was supposed to start at 3. It was almost 3:30 now. Grant sat on the back steps, scrolling through his phone. He wore jeans and a faded blue t-shirt, the same one he'd been wearing since morning. His hair needed cutting. He hadn't shaved in 2 days. He looked up occasionally, smiled at Lila when she glanced his way, then went back to his phone. Wren's mother-in-law was late. Again. Colleen Brewster had a gift for arriving at the exact moment when everyone had stopped expecting her. She never called ahead, never apologized, just showed up when it suited her, carrying nothing but her opinions. Wren checked her watch. 3:35. She pulled the hot dogs off the grill and set them on a plate. The buns were already out, sitting in a basket with a checkered cloth over them to keep them warm. She'd made potato salad that morning, cut up watermelon, bought chips because they were on sale. Everything was ready. Lila ran over, breathless. "Can we eat yet?" "Let's wait a few more minutes," Wren said. "Grandma should be here soon." Lila's smile dimmed slightly, but she nodded. She didn't complain. That was the thing about Lila. She'd learned not to expect too much. She was good at adjusting her expectations downward, at making herself smaller to fit whatever space she was given. Wren hated that she'd learned that skill so young. The gate rattled. Wren turned. Colleen pushed through, not bothering to latch it behind her. She was a tall woman, broad-shouldered, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to calculate value in every glance. She wore slacks and a floral blouse, dressy for a backyard party. Her purse hung from her shoulder, a large leather bag that looked expensive. She didn't carry a gift. She never did. "Sorry I'm late," Colleen said, though her tone suggested she wasn't sorry at all. Traffic was terrible. There was no traffic in their town. Everyone knew that. Grant stood up from the steps. "Hey, Mom." "Grant." Colleen walked past him without hugging him, her gaze sweeping the yard. She took in the folding table, the streamers, the plastic plates. Her mouth tightened at the corners. Lila stood near Wren, one hand gripping the edge of her dress. "Hi, Grandma." Colleen glanced at her. "You're getting big." It wasn't a compliment, not the way she said it. Wren moved the plate of hot dogs to the table. "We're about to eat. Do you want something to drink?" "Water's fine." Colleen sat down in one of the folding chairs, setting her purse on the ground beside her. She looked around again, slower this time. This is a lot for a kid who hasn't earned anything yet. The words dropped into the yard like stones into still water. Ripples spread outward, silent but felt. Wren stopped moving. Her hand hovered over the bag of chips she'd been about to open. She waited for someone else to speak, for Grant to say something, for anyone to push back. No one did. Lila looked down at her shoes. Grant cleared his throat. "It's just a birthday, Mom." "Exactly," Colleen said. "Just a birthday, not a coronation." Wren opened the chips. The bag crinkled loudly in the silence. She poured them into a bowl, focusing on the task, on the simple mechanics of opening, pouring, setting down. She'd gotten good at this over the years, pretending not to hear, letting things slide, choosing her battles. That's what Grant always said. Pick your battles. Don't make waves. But the cake sat inside, and Wren thought about the hours she'd spent on it. The careful piping, the way she'd checked and rechecked the spelling, the way Lila's face had lit up that morning when she'd seen it on the counter, her name written in frosting. She thought about how few things Lila got that were just hers. They ate hot dogs and potato salad. Lila talked about school, about a book she was reading, about the science project she wanted to do next semester. Colleen listened with the kind of attention that felt more like surveillance than interest. She asked questions that sounded like interrogations. "Are you sure you can handle that? Don't you think that's a bit ambitious for someone your age?" Grant ate quietly, not intervening. Wren watched him across the table. He avoided her eyes. When the food was gone and the plates were cleared, Wren stood. "I'll go get the cake." Lila's face brightened. She scooted forward in her chair. Wren went inside. The kitchen was cooler, shaded from the afternoon sun. The cake sat on the counter where she'd left it, covered with plastic wrap. She pulled open the drawer and found the candles, 10 of them, pink and white striped. She unwrapped the cake carefully, positioned the candles in a circle, and reached for the lighter. Her phone buzzed. A text from a coworker asking about a schedule swap. She typed out a quick response, set the phone down, and lit the candles one by one. The small flames flickered in the still air of the kitchen. She picked up the cake, holding it carefully, and pushed through the screen door with her hip. The backyard was quiet. Too quiet. Wren stepped onto the porch. The folding table was empty. The plates and cups were still there, but the center of the table, where the cake should have gone, was vacant. The chairs were pushed back slightly, as if everyone had stood up. She scanned the yard. Grant stood near the fence, hands in his pockets. Colleen was near the side of the house by the trash bins, and Lila stood on the porch steps, frozen, her face tight and pale. Wren walked forward slowly, still holding the cake. What happened? No one answered. She looked at the trash bin. The lid was propped open. Colleen stood beside it, arms crossed, her expression neutral, almost bored. Wren's heart began to beat faster. She set the cake on the table. This cake, the replacement cake she'd bought at the store that morning, just in case something went wrong, and walked to the trash bin. Inside, smashed against the plastic liner, was the other cake, the one she'd made, the chocolate with vanilla frosting, the name Lila written in pink letters. The frosting was smeared now, pushed sideways by the lid or by a hand. Bits of cake stuck to the sides of the bin. Wren stared at it. Her mind couldn't catch up. The image didn't make sense. Cakes didn't belong in trash bins. Not birthday cakes. Not cakes that someone spent hours making. She turned slowly. What is this? Colleen brushed imaginary dust from her hands. She doesn't need all this attention. It makes kids weak. The world seemed to tilt. Wren's vision tunneled. She could see Colleen's mouth moving, hear the words, but they felt distant, detached, like they were coming from somewhere else. You threw away her cake, Wren said. Her voice sounded strange to her own ears. Flat, distant. I threw away unnecessary excess. Colleen's tone was matter-of-fact, as if she were explaining basic arithmetic. Children don't need to be coddled. They need structure, discipline, not sugar and celebrations for simply existing. Wren looked at Lila. Her daughter stood on the porch steps, shoulders hunched, face carefully blank. Her eyes were shining but dry. She wasn't crying. She'd learned not to cry in front of Colleen years ago. Tears only made things worse. Wren's hands began to shake. Not from fear. Not from anger, not yet. From something colder. Something settling deep in her chest, like ice water pooling in her lungs. She looked at Grant. He rubbed the back of his neck. That gesture he always made when he was uncomfortable. When he wanted to disappear. He opened his mouth. Closed it. Looked away. He said nothing. That silence was louder than anything else. Wren walked back to the table. She looked down at the store-bought cake, still sitting there with its 10 lit candles. The flames had burned down halfway. Wax dripped onto the frosting. She picked up the cake and carried it inside without a word. When she came back out, Lila was standing in the middle of the yard. She'd gone to get her tablet from the house. She held it in both hands, screen facing outward. It's okay, Lila said. Her voice was steady. Too steady for a 10-year-old. I made something for Grandma. Everyone turned to look at her. Lila's thumb moved on the screen. A video started playing. No music. No introduction. Just footage. The first clip showed Colleen's face on a phone screen. A video call from months ago. Wren recognized the kitchen background. Colleen's voice came through the tablet speaker. Tinny but clear. She's not my real family anyway. The video cut to another clip. Colleen again, this time standing in a different room. Her voice was dismissive, talking to someone off-screen. If Wren knew how to raise a kid, maybe I'd care more. Another cut. Colleen's voice on speakerphone during a conversation Wren vaguely remembered. Some children just need less. Less attention. Less coddling. Less everything. The video played on. Clip after clip. Small moments captured over time. Wren hadn't known Lila had been recording. Hadn't known her daughter had been collecting evidence. Building a case. Documenting every slight and insult. Colleen's face went white. Then red. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked like someone had punched her in the throat. Grant stepped forward. Lila, where did you? I saved them, Lila said simply. Every time Grandma said something mean. I saved it. Wren's vision blurred. Not from tears. From clarity. From a sudden, sharp understanding that sliced through years of excuses and justifications. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't a difficult personality. This wasn't a generational difference in parenting styles. This was cruelty, deliberate and sustained. And she had allowed it. Colleen found her voice. You manipulative little. Don't. Wren's voice cut through the air like a blade. She stepped between Colleen and Lila, her body forming a wall. "Don't say another word." Colleen's eyes narrowed. "You're going to let her talk to me like this?" "She didn't say anything," Wren replied. "She just showed the truth. That video is taken out of context." "What context makes those words okay?" Wren asked. Her voice was quiet now, deadly quiet. "What context justifies telling a child she's not real family? What context makes it acceptable to throw away a birthday cake?" Colleen grabbed her purse from the ground. "I don't have to listen to this." "You're right," Wren said. "You don't." Colleen stalked toward the gate. She paused there, one hand on the latch, and turned back. "You're going to regret this." Wren didn't respond. She just stood there, one hand on Lila's shoulder, watching her mother-in-law leave. The gate slammed shut. The dog next door kept barking. A car drove past on the street, radio playing something muffled and bass-heavy. Grant still stood by the fence, hands in his pockets, staring at the ground. Wren looked at him, waited. He didn't meet her eyes. That night, after Lila had gone to bed, Wren sat alone at the kitchen table. The house was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional creak of the floorboards settling. The lights were off except for the small lamp over the stove, casting everything in dim yellow. She'd cleaned up the yard, folded the table and chairs, thrown away the paper plates and cups, taken the smashed cake out of the trash bin and put it in a garbage bag. Her hands had moved automatically, doing the work while her mind churned. Now she sat in the silence, hands wrapped around a mug of tea she hadn't drunk. The ceramic was warm against her palms. She stared at the wall across from her, seeing nothing. She thought about the first time she'd met Colleen. 7 years ago, when she and Grant had been dating for 6 months. He'd warned her ahead of time. "My mom can be particular," he'd said. "Just don't take it personally." Wren had smiled. She'd grown up with difficult people. She knew how to navigate tricky family dynamics. She'd thought she could handle it. That first meeting had been at a restaurant downtown. Colleen had arrived 15 minutes late, looked Wren up and down, and said, "You're younger than I expected." Not as a compliment, as an assessment, a judgment already forming. Through dinner, Colleen had asked questions that felt more like depositions. Where did Wren grow up? What did her parents do? Where did she go to college? Each answer seemed to confirm something negative in Colleen's mind. The slight tightening of her mouth. The way she glanced at Grant as if to say, "Really? This is who you chose?" Grant had held Wren's hand under the table, squeezed it reassuringly. Later, in the car, he'd apologized. "She's like that with everyone. She'll warm up." She never did. When Wren got pregnant, Colleen's response had been a tight-lipped, "I see." When they got married at the courthouse because they couldn't afford anything else, Colleen hadn't come. She'd sent a card, not with money, not with a gift, just a card that said best wishes in impersonal cursive. When Lila was born, Colleen had visited the hospital once. She'd stood at the foot of the bed, looked at the baby in Wren's arms, and said, "She has your nose." The way she said it made it clear she thought that was unfortunate. Over the years, there had been 1,000 small moments. Colleen forgetting Lila's birthday, bringing gifts for Grant's sister's children, but not for Lila, correcting the way Lila sat, the way she spoke, the way she held her fork, never with encouragement, always with criticism. And Wren had let it happen. She'd told herself it wasn't worth fighting about, that Colleen was just from a different generation. That family was important, and you had to make allowances for difficult relatives. She'd told herself a lot of things. The tea in her mug had gone cold. She set it down and pressed her palms flat against the table. The wood was smooth under her hands, worn down by years of meals and homework and late-night conversations. She thought about the cake in the trash, about Lila's face on the porch steps, about the way her daughter had stood there, shoulders back, showing that video. 10 years old and already learning to defend herself because no one else would. Ren had failed her. The realization sat heavy in her stomach. She'd been so focused on keeping the peace, on not making waves, on holding the family together, that she hadn't noticed she was drowning her daughter in the process. She heard footsteps on the stairs. Grant appeared in the doorway, wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt. His hair stuck up on one side. He looked exhausted. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "No." He moved to the coffee pot, started preparing it even though it was nearly midnight. The familiar sounds filled the kitchen. Water running, coffee beans grinding, the click of the machine starting. He didn't say anything else. Ren watched him, waited, gave him the space to speak first. He poured himself a cup before the pot was finished, and the coffee dripped onto the heating plate with a sizzle. He leaned against the counter, mug in both hands, staring into it like it might have answers. "She shouldn't have done that," he finally said. "Thrown away the cake." Ren asked, "Or said those things in the first place?" "The video. Lila shouldn't have recorded her. That's—" He trailed off. "That's what?" Ren's voice was calm. Too calm. "It's not right. Recording people without their permission. Neither is calling a child not real family." Grant rubbed his face with one hand. "My mom, she just has a hard time expressing things. She doesn't mean it the way it sounds." Ren felt something crack inside her chest. "What other way is there to mean it, Grant?" "She's from a different time. People were tougher back then. They didn't coddle kids." "There's a difference between not coddling and being cruel." "She's not cruel." But his voice wavered. He didn't sound convinced. Ren stood. She walked to the counter where her phone sat charging. She unplugged it, opened it, and scrolled through her saved voicemails. Her texts, old emails, years of accumulated evidence she'd been unconsciously collecting. She played one. Colleen's voice from a message left 2 years ago. "I don't know why you're making such a fuss about Lila's grades. Some kids just aren't that bright." Another one. A text from last Christmas. "Don't expect me to pretend to enjoy those cheap gifts you buy. You should learn to manage money better." And another. From the week after Lila broke her arm. "Maybe if you watched her more carefully, these things wouldn't happen." Grant listened, his face growing paler with each message. "I didn't know she—" "Yes, you did." Ren's voice was quiet but firm. "You knew. You've always known. You just chose not to deal with it." "She's my mother. And Lila is your daughter." The words hung between them. Grant set down his coffee mug. He looked at Ren, really looked at her, and something in his expression crumbled. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Ren waited for the apology to mean something, for it to feel like enough. It didn't. "Why didn't you stop her?" she asked. "At the party, when she threw away the cake. You were standing right there. I didn't know what to do." "You could have said something. Anything. You could have stood up for your daughter." I froze. He stopped. Started again. "It's hard to stand up to her. You don't know what it's like." "I know exactly what it's like," Ren said. "I've been doing it for years. While you stayed silent." Grant's eyes filled with tears. "I'll talk to her. I'll tell her she can't treat Lila like that anymore. I'll set boundaries. I promise." Ren wanted to believe him. Some part of her wanted to let this be enough, to accept the promise and move forward, to go back to the way things were. But she couldn't. Something had shifted. Something fundamental. "Show me the video," Grant said suddenly. "The full one. The one Lila made." Ren got Lila's tablet from the living room. She pulled up the video and handed it to Grant. He sat down at the table and watched the entire thing. 5 minutes of clips. His mother's voice saying terrible things. Some that Ren had heard. Many that she hadn't. Comments made when Ren wasn't around. When it was just Colleen and Lila. Moments that Lila had endured alone. When it finished, Grant sat staring at the blank screen. His hands shook slightly. "I didn't know it was this bad," he said. Because you didn't want to know. He looked up at her. What do you want me to do? Ren thought about that question. What did she want? An apology? A promise? A guarantee that this would never happen again? None of those things felt sufficient. None of them would undo the years of damage. None of them would give Lila back the childhood she deserved. I want you to choose, she said. I want you to decide who matters more, your mother or your daughter. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Ren said. But we still have to make choices. Grant looked down at his hands. He didn't say anything. Ren picked up her phone again. She opened her email and started a new message. In the address field, she added Grant's siblings. His Aunt Marie, who had always defended Colleen. The family group chat that everyone was part of. She attached the video. Not the full 5 minutes. Just the worst clips. The ones that were indefensible. The ones that couldn't be explained away. Her finger hovered over the send button. What are you doing? Grant asked. Telling the truth. Ren, don't. If I send this, what? Your family will know what kind of person your mother is. They'll see what she's really like. It will destroy her. She tried to destroy our daughter. Ren's voice was steel. One birthday at a time. One criticism at a time. One dismissal at a time. Please, let me talk to her first. Let me fix this. Ren looked at him. At this man she'd married. This man who'd promised to protect her and their child. This man who'd stood silent while his mother threw a birthday cake in the trash. You had 7 years to fix this, she said. She pressed send. The email whooshed away into the digital void. No taking it back. No unsending. It was done. Grant stared at her. You just... Yes. They're going to. I don't care. He stood up, grabbed his coffee mug, and threw it against the wall. It shattered. Coffee sprayed across the white paint. Ceramic pieces scattered across the floor. Ren didn't flinch. Grant looked at the mess he'd made, at the broken mug, at the coffee dripping down the wall. His shoulders sagged. I'm going for a drive. He left. The front door closed. His truck started in the driveway. The engine faded into the distance. Ren got a towel and cleaned up the coffee, swept up the ceramic pieces, wiped down the wall. By the time she was done, her phone was buzzing. Messages coming in, one after another. She didn't read them. Not yet. She put the phone face down on the counter and went upstairs to check on Lila. Her daughter was asleep, curled on her side, one hand tucked under her pillow. The night light glowed softly in the corner. Ren sat on the edge of the bed and watched Lila breathe. In and out, steady and peaceful. She thought about all the times she should have protected her daughter and didn't. All the moments she'd let slide. All the comments she'd ignored. Never again, she whispered into the dark room. Lila stirred slightly but didn't wake. Ren stayed there for a long time, one hand resting gently on her daughter's shoulder, while the phone downstairs continued to buzz with incoming messages. The family was responding. The truth was spreading. The careful facade they'd all maintained was cracking apart. Good. Let it crack. The next 3 days were chaos. The kind of slow-motion chaos that felt like watching a building collapse in real time. Messages poured in. Phone calls. Voicemails. Some people were shocked. Some were defensive. Some admitted they'd suspected but hadn't wanted to get involved. Grant's sister called. Her name was Melissa, and she was the oldest of the 3 siblings. She'd always been neutral toward Ren. Not warm, but not hostile either. Just distant. I watched the video, Melissa said when Ren answered. Her voice was tight, controlled. I had no idea Mom said those things. Now you know. Some of that, Jesus, the way she talked about Lila. I have kids. I wouldn't let anyone, she stopped. Started over. I'm sorry. I should have paid more attention. Yes, Ren said. You should have. The line was quiet for a moment. Then Melissa asked, "What do you need from me?" The question surprised Ren. "I don't need anything." "That's not what I asked." Ren thought about it. "Just don't make excuses for her. Don't try to smooth this over. Don't ask me to forgive and forget." "I won't." "And maybe talk to Lila. Apologize to her. Not because you did anything wrong directly, but because she spent years in a family that didn't protect her." "I'll call her today," Melissa said. "And Ren, thank you for showing us." When Ren hung up, she felt something unfamiliar. Not quite relief. Not quite satisfaction. Something in between. Validation, maybe. Acknowledgement that she wasn't crazy. That this hadn't all been in her head. Colleen tried calling. Ren didn't answer. She left voicemails, 10 of them in 2 days. They started angry. Defensive. Accusing Ren of manipulating the footage, of turning the family against her, of being vindictive and petty. Then they shifted, became pleading. "I just want to talk. Please, let's discuss this like adults." By the 3rd day, they were silent. Colleen had stopped calling. Grant came home that first night around 3 in the morning. Ren was still awake, sitting in the living room in the dark. She heard his truck in the driveway, heard his footsteps on the porch. The door opened slowly, and he stood silhouetted in the doorway. "You're up," he said. "Couldn't sleep." He came inside, closed the door quietly. He sat in the chair across from her, elbows on his knees, hands hanging between them. "My phone's been blowing up," he said. "Mine too. Marcus thinks you did the right thing. Melissa called Mom and told her she was out of line. My Aunt Marie, she's not speaking to any of us. Marie always did think Colleen could do no wrong." Grant laughed, but it was hollow. "Yeah, she did." They sat in silence. The house creaked around them. Outside, a car drove past, headlights sweeping across the wall. "I talked to a therapist," Grant said. "Well, I left a message. Made an appointment for next week." Ren looked at him. "That's good. I know I screwed up. I know I should have." His voice cracked. "I should have done better. Been better. For you. For Lila. I don't know how to stand up to her." "Learn," Ren said. "It wasn't cruel. Just factual." Grant nodded. He was crying now, silently, tears running down his face. "Can we fix this?" "I don't know. I want to try." "So try." Over the next few weeks, things changed. Grant went to therapy. He set boundaries with his mother, blocked her number when she tried to call him 15 times in one day, told her that if she wanted any relationship with him or Lila, she needed to apologize. Really apologize. Not the "I'm sorry you felt that way" kind. The real kind. Colleen refused. Of course she refused. Ren watched Grant struggle with it. Watched him grieve the mother he'd wanted instead of the mother he had. It was hard to witness. Part of her wanted to comfort him. Part of her was still too angry. Lila went back to school after the weekend. She seemed lighter somehow, like she'd been carrying something heavy and had finally put down. She talked more at dinner, laughed more easily, started a new project for science class, something about plant growth and soil pH, and actually seemed excited about it. One evening she asked Ren, "Are you and Dad going to get divorced?" They were washing dishes together, Ren's hands stilled in the soapy water. "Why do you ask that?" "You don't talk to each other the same way anymore." Kids noticed everything. Ren had forgotten that. Or maybe she'd just hoped Lila wouldn't notice this. "I don't know," Ren said honestly. "We're trying to figure things out." "Okay." Lila scrubbed a plate, rinsed it, set it in the drying rack. "If you do, I won't be mad." No. I just want you to be happy. Both of you, but especially you." Ren's throat tightened. She put down the dish she was holding and pulled Lila into a hug. Her daughter wrapped her arms around Ren's waist and held on tight. "I love you," Ren whispered into Lila's hair. I love you too, Mom. They stood there for a long moment, water dripping off Wren's hands onto the floor, neither of them caring. 2 months after the birthday party, Colleen showed up at the house unannounced. Wren was home alone. Grant had taken Lila to a friend's house for a play date. Wren was in the garage, sorting through boxes of old clothes to donate, when she heard a car in the driveway. She looked out. Colleen's silver sedan. The woman herself getting out, purse over her shoulder, walking toward the front door with purpose. Wren's first instinct was to go inside, lock the door, pretend she wasn't home. But something stopped her. Maybe it was the anger that had been simmering for 2 months. Maybe it was the realization that she was done running, done avoiding. She walked to the driveway instead. Colleen stopped when she saw her. They stood there, 10 feet apart, afternoon sun beating down on both of them. "Wren," Colleen said. Her voice was stiff, formal. "I need to talk to you." "Then talk." Colleen's mouth tightened. She wasn't used to resistance, wasn't used to people not deferring to her. "You embarrassed me. In front of the entire family. You did that yourself." Those recordings were taken out of context. What context makes them acceptable? Wren asked. The same question she'd asked Grant. The same question no one seemed able to answer. "I was trying to help. To make Lila stronger. To prepare her for the real world. By telling her she's not real family. By not coddling her. By teaching her that life is hard and not everyone is going to love her." "She's 10 years old," Wren said. "She shouldn't have to learn that lesson from her grandmother." Colleen crossed her arms. "You're too soft on her. You always have been. You make excuses. You let her get away with things. That video was calculated, manipulative. She knew exactly what she was doing. She was defending herself, since no one else would. She was trying to turn the family against me. She was telling the truth." They stared at each other. Colleen's jaw worked like she was chewing on words she wanted to spit out but couldn't quite release. Finally she said, "I want to see her." "No, she's my granddaughter. And you've spent 10 years making her feel like she doesn't matter." "That's not." Colleen stopped. Her face flushed. "I have a right to see my grandchild." "You have the right to apply for visitation through the courts if you want," Wren said calmly. "But I'm not letting you anywhere near her. Not until you can admit what you did wrong. Not until you can apologize. Really apologize." "I came here to apologize." "No, you didn't. You came here to justify yourself." Colleen's hands clenched into fists. "You can't keep her from me." "Watch me." They stood in silence. A breeze moved through the trees along the street. The neighbor's dog barked. Life continued around them, indifferent to their standoff. Colleen took a breath. When she spoke again, her voice was different, softer, almost pleading. I raised 3 children. I worked 2 jobs. I did everything by myself after their father left. I didn't have time for feelings, for coddling. I did what I had to do to survive." Wren felt something shift in her chest. Not sympathy exactly, just recognition. "I'm sorry that was hard for you." "Then you understand." "No," Wren interrupted. "I understand that it was hard. But your pain doesn't give you permission to hurt my daughter." Colleen's face hardened again. "You're making a mistake, keeping me away. Children need their grandparents. Children need adults who treat them with respect and kindness. If you can't do that, they don't need you at all." The words hung in the air, final, unmovable. Colleen turned and walked back to her car. She paused with her hand on the door handle. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," Wren said, "but I'll never regret protecting my child." Colleen got in the car and drove away. Wren stood in the driveway until the sedan disappeared around the corner. Then she went inside, locked the door, and sat down on the couch. Her hands were shaking. Her whole body was shaking. But underneath the tremors was something solid, Something unshakable. She'd done it. She'd stood up. She'd said no. And it hadn't killed her. Grant came home an hour later with Lila. His daughter ran inside, talking excitedly about the play date, about the game they'd played, about the snacks they'd eaten. Grant hung back in the doorway. "Mom was here," he said quietly. "I know." "What happened?" "I told her she couldn't see Lila." Grant nodded slowly. "How do you feel?" Wren thought about it. Relieved. That night, after Lila was asleep, Wren and Grant sat in the backyard. The same yard where the birthday party had happened. The same folding table, put away now in the garage. The same chain-link fence. The same neighbor's dog, still barking occasionally. "I've been thinking," Grant said, "about us." Wren waited. "I love you. I love Lila. I want this to work. I want to be the husband you need, the father she deserves. But—" Wren could hear it in his voice, the word he wasn't saying. "But I don't know if I can do what you need me to do. Cut my mom out completely. Never see her again. I know what she did, but she's still my mother." Wren nodded. She'd known this conversation was coming, had felt it building for weeks. "I'm not asking you to cut her out completely," she said. "I'm asking you to put Lila first, to protect her, to not subject her to someone who treats her like she's less than. I know, and I agree, but she's still going to be at family things, holidays, birthdays for my siblings' kids. And I can't," he stopped. "I can't just not go to those things. I'm not asking you to. But you won't come." "No, I won't, and neither will Lila." Grant rubbed his face. "So we just what? Live separate lives? You and Lila do your thing, I do mine." "If that's what it takes. That's not a marriage." Wren looked up at the stars. They were hard to see with all the light pollution from town, but a few were visible, distant and cold. "I know." They sat in silence for a long time. Long enough for the neighbor's dog to stop barking. Long enough for the street lights to flicker on. Long enough for the truth to settle between them. Unavoidable and final. "I think we should separate," Grant said eventually. "Not because I want to, but because you're right. You and Lila deserve better than what I can give you right now." Okay. He sounded surprised. "I'm not going to beg you to stay. I'm not going to try to change your mind. If you want to keep your mother in your life, that's your choice. But Lila and I won't be part of that. I'll still see Lila. I'll still be her father. I know. We'll figure out custody. Do this as cleanly as we can." Grant's voice broke. "I really did love you." "I know," Wren said again. "But love isn't always enough." They separated in October. Grant moved into an apartment across town, a small one-bedroom above a pizza shop. He took his clothes, his books, a few pieces of furniture. Wren kept the house. It was a rental anyway, nothing to split, just different names on a lease. The divorce itself was quiet. No courtroom drama. No lawyers fighting over assets they didn't have. Just paperwork and mediation, and two people trying to untangle their lives without causing more damage than necessary. They worked out custody. Grant would have Lila every other weekend and one night during the week. Wren would keep her for everything else. It wasn't 50-50, but Grant didn't push for more. Maybe he knew he couldn't handle more. Maybe he was just tired. Lila took it better than Wren expected. She cried, of course. Asked the questions kids always ask. Is it my fault? Can't you try harder? Don't you love each other anymore? Wren answered honestly every time. It's not your fault. We did try. We do love each other. But sometimes love isn't enough to fix things. Because of Grandma, Lila said. Not a question. A statement. Because of a lot of things. Grandma was part of it. But this is about Dad and me figuring out what we need. And you need him to stand up for us. Yes. And he can't. Wren's chest ached. Not right now. Lila processed this with the seriousness of someone much older. That's sad. It is. Are you sad? Sometimes. But I'm also okay. We're going to be okay. And slowly they were. The first few months were an adjustment, learning to live with less money, learning to manage everything alone, learning to be a single parent in all the ways that phrase implies. Ren picked up extra shifts at the clinic. They ate cheaper meals. Ren learned to cut Lila's hair herself instead of paying for salon visits. But there were unexpected benefits too. The house was quieter, calmer. There was no tension hanging in the air. No waiting for the next uncomfortable conversation. No walking on eggshells around anyone's feelings. Lila seemed happier. She invited friends over more often. Started playing guitar, something she'd been interested in but never pursued. Joined the robotics club at school. She was growing into herself, becoming louder and braver and more confident. Grant saw her regularly. He was a good father in the basic ways. He showed up on time, took her to dinner, helped with homework. But there was a distance between them now, a careful politeness, like they were both trying not to mention the thing that had broken their family. Colleen called Grant constantly. He told Ren about it during one of their handoff conversations when he dropped Lila back at the house. They stood in the driveway, Lila already inside, and Grant looked exhausted. She wants to see Lila, he said. No. She says she's learned her lesson. She's been in therapy. Good for her. The answer is still no. She's my mother. And Lila is our daughter. Who comes first? Grant looked away. Didn't answer. That's what I thought, Ren said. He drove away without saying goodbye. Ren went inside. Lila was at the kitchen table, backpack open, pulling out homework. She looked up when Ren came in. Dad asked if I wanted to see Grandma next weekend. Ren's stomach dropped. What did you say? I said no. I told him I'm not ready. Maybe not ever. How did he react? He looked sad, but he said okay. He said it was my choice. Ren sat down across from her daughter. It is your choice. Always. And if you ever change your mind. I know, but I don't think I will. She hurt my feelings too many times. I understand. Do you think that makes me mean? No, I think it makes you smart. Lila smiled a little. Thanks, Mom. She went back to her homework. Ren watched her for a moment. This girl who was learning to set boundaries, to protect herself, to know her own worth. Whatever else had happened, whatever had been lost, Lila was learning lessons that would serve her well. Months passed. Fall turned to winter. The holidays came and went. Ren and Lila had Thanksgiving alone, just the two of them, with a small turkey and store-bought pie. Christmas was quieter too. They decorated a cheap tree from the lot downtown, hung lights in the windows, made cookies while listening to old carols on the radio. It wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. Grant spent the holidays with his family, his mother, his siblings, the relatives who had either forgiven Colleen or decided to ignore what had happened. He invited Lila to Christmas dinner at his apartment, just the two of them, separate from the larger family gathering. She went, came home with presents and stories about the meal Grant had cooked. Was it weird? Ren asked. A little. He seemed nervous, like he was trying really hard. That's good. It means he cares. I guess. Lila set down her gifts, a book, a new jacket, some art supplies. Grandma sent me something. Dad gave it to me. Ren tensed. What was it? A card. With money. $50. Did you read the card? Yeah. It said, I miss you. Love, Grandma. Nothing else. How do you feel about that? Lila thought about it. I don't know. It feels like she thinks money fixes things. Does it? No. It just makes me remember all the stuff she said. Ren pulled her daughter into a hug. Lila was getting taller. Her head reached Ren's shoulder now. Soon she'd be as tall as Wren herself. You don't have to respond if you don't want to. I won't. Is that okay? It's more than okay. Winter faded into spring. The year mark approached. A year since the birthday party. Since the cake in the trash. Since everything had changed. Wren thought about planning something special for Lila's 11th birthday. Something bigger. Something that made up for last year. But when she asked Lila what she wanted, her daughter said, just something small. With my friends. And maybe we could have 2 cakes this year. One for everyone. And one that's just mine. Wren's throat tightened. We can do that. The party was in late April. 8 kids in the backyard. Pizza and chips and sodas. 2 cakes from the grocery store. One decorated with flowers. One with a soccer ball since Lila had joined a team that spring. They played music too loud and ran around with water balloons and made a mess of the yard. It was chaotic and loud and absolutely perfect. When it was time for cake, Wren brought out the first one. Everyone sang. Lila blew out the candles with her friends clustered around her, laughing and shouting suggestions for wishes. After everyone went home and the yard was cleaned up, Wren brought out the second cake. Just her and Lila, sitting on the back steps in the fading light. This one's just for you, Wren said. Lila looked at it. A simple chocolate cake with vanilla frosting. Her name written in pink letters across the top. Just like last year. Just like the cake that had ended up in the trash. But this time was different. This time it was safe. Lila's eyes filled with tears. Thanks, Mom. You're welcome, sweetheart. They ate cake straight from the pan with forks, sitting side by side on the steps. The neighbor's dog barked. A car drove past. The evening air was cool and pleasant, carrying the smell of someone's barbecue from down the street. Are you happy? Lila asked suddenly. Wren thought about it, really thought about it. Was she happy? Her marriage had ended. Her family had fractured. She worked too much and worried about money constantly. She'd lost people she'd once considered friends, people who'd sided with Colleen or just decided to stay neutral. But she looked at her daughter beside her, at this brave, strong girl who was learning to stand up for herself, at the peaceful house behind them, at the life they were building together, imperfect but honest. Yes, Wren said. I think I am. Lila smiled. Me too. They finished the cake as the sky turned purple, then dark. Stars began to appear, more visible tonight than usual. Maybe the clouds had cleared. Maybe Wren was just paying more attention. Inside, the phone rang. Wren ignored it. It could wait. Everything could wait. Right now, she was exactly where she needed to be. The weeks after Lila's birthday settled into a new rhythm. Summer approached. School ended. Lila went to a day camp for kids interested in science. She came home every evening sunburned and excited, talking about experiments and new friends and the counselor who taught them about physics. Wren worked through the summer. The clinic was busy, always busy, but she'd gotten a small raise in April and it helped. Every little bit helped. She was learning to manage money better, to stretch dollars, to say no to expenses they didn't absolutely need. Grant called one evening in June. Wren was making dinner, spaghetti, nothing fancy, when her phone buzzed. She almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail, but something made her pick up. Hey, Grant said. His voice sounded strained. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I wanted to talk to you about something. Wren turned down the heat on the stove. Okay. My mom had a health scare. Heart thing. She's okay now, but it made her think about everything. She wants to apologize. To you and Lila. Wren's first instinct was to laugh. Her second was to hang up. She did neither. I'm listening. She's been in therapy. Real therapy, not just saying she is. And she's done some work. Some real work on herself. She knows she messed up. She wants to make it right. It's been over a year, Grant. I know it has. But she's trying. And I thought maybe you could hear her out. Not forgive her. not let her back into our lives. Just listen. Ren stirred the pasta. The water bubbled aggressively. Does Lila want to see her? I haven't asked her yet. I wanted to talk to you first. Good, because Lila gets to make that decision. Not me, not you, not your mother. Lila. I agree. And if she says no, then it's no. I'll tell Mom it's not happening. Ren felt something loosen in her chest. This was different. This was Grant actually standing up, actually putting boundaries in place. It was late, a year late, but it was something. I'll talk to Lila, Ren said. I'll see what she wants, but I'm not promising anything. I know. Thank you. After they hung up, Ren finished making dinner. She called Lila to the table. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Just the sounds of forks on plates and the window fan turning. Dad called, Ren said eventually. Lila looked up. Yeah. Your grandmother wants to apologize. To both of us. Your dad says she's been in therapy. Lila set down her fork. Her face was carefully neutral. What do you think? I think it's your choice. If you want to hear what she has to say, we can arrange something. If you don't, we don't have to. There's no pressure either way. Lila chewed her bottom lip, thinking, would you be there? If you want me there, yes. Would it be safe? Like, would she be mean again? I don't know, sweetheart. People can change, but they can also pretend to change and then go back to how they were before. That's why I'm leaving it up to you. Lila pushed spaghetti around her plate. Can I think about it? Of course. 3 days later, Lila came to Ren while she was folding laundry in the living room. I want to see her, but only with you there. And only for like half an hour. And if she's mean, we leave right away. Deal. They arranged to meet at a coffee shop downtown. Neutral territory. Public. Easy to leave if needed. Grant would be there too. Just the four of them. The day of the meeting, Ren woke up with her stomach in knots. She dressed carefully. Nothing too formal, nothing too casual. She wanted to look put together. In control. She helped Lila pick out an outfit. Her daughter was nervous too, though she tried to hide it. We don't have to do this, Ren said as they drove downtown. I know, but I want to. Why? Lila thought about it. Because I want to see if she's actually sorry, or if she's just pretending. Ren parked in front of the coffee shop. Through the window, she could see Grant already inside, sitting at a table near the back. Colleen sat across from him, hands wrapped around a coffee cup. Ren and Lila got out of the car, stood on the sidewalk for a moment. Ready? Ren asked. Ready. They walked in together. Colleen looked up when they entered. Her face changed, something complicated crossing it. Surprise, maybe. Or fear. Or hope. Maybe all three. Grant stood. Hey, thanks for coming. They sat. An awkward silence settled over the table. A barista called out someone's order. Music played softly through speakers. The coffee shop was half full, other people going about their lives, unaware of the small drama unfolding in the corner. Colleen cleared her throat. Thank you for meeting with me. Both of you. I know I don't deserve it. Ren said nothing, just waited. Colleen looked at Lila. I owe you an apology. A real one. I treated you terribly. I said things no child should hear. I made you feel like you didn't matter. And I'm sorry. I'm deeply, truly sorry. Lila's face was unreadable. Why did you do it? That's not an excuse. I didn't ask for an excuse. I asked why. Colleen swallowed. Because I was angry. At your father for choices he made. At your mother for being different from what I expected. And I took it out on you because you were there and because I could. And that was wrong. So wrong. Did you mean the things you said? At the time, I thought I did. I told myself I was being realistic, practical, preparing you for a hard world. But the truth is, I was just being cruel. And I'm sorry. Lila nodded slowly. She looked at Wren. Some unspoken communication passed between them. What happens now? Lila asked, turning back to Colleen. That's up to you, Colleen said. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking to be part of your life again. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did, and I'm working on being better. Are you? Yes. I've been seeing a therapist. Twice a week. We're working through a lot of things. My own childhood, my anger, the way I was raised and the way I raised my kids. It doesn't excuse anything, but I'm trying to understand it, so I can change. Wren spoke for the first time. Words are easy. What are you actually doing differently? Colleen looked at her. I stopped making excuses. I stopped blaming other people. I started listening when people told me I hurt them instead of arguing about it. I've apologized to Grant's siblings, to people I've hurt over the years. I'm trying to rebuild trust, but I know it takes time. It takes more than time, Wren said. It takes proof, consistent proof. I know. They sat in silence. Lila picked at a napkin, tearing it into small pieces. Grant looked like he wanted to say something, but couldn't find the words. Finally, Lila asked, Do you miss me? Colleen's eyes filled with tears. Every day. Did you miss me before? When you were being mean? The question hung in the air, raw and honest. Yes, Colleen said, but I didn't know how to show it. I didn't know how to be soft, kind. I only knew how to be hard, and I thought that was what you needed. But I was wrong. Lila nodded. She looked at Wren again. Another silent conversation. Okay, Lila said finally. I heard your apology. Thank you for saying it. Does that mean? It means I heard you. That's all. I need time to think about the rest. Colleen nodded, wiping her eyes. That's fair. That's more than fair. Wren stood. We should go. Lila stood too. They walked toward the door together. Grant followed them out to the sidewalk. Thank you, he said to Wren, for coming, for letting her apologize. I didn't do it for you or for her. I did it for Lila. I know. Still, thank you. In the car, Lila was quiet. Wren drove home slowly, giving her daughter space to process. When they pulled into the driveway, Lila finally spoke. I don't think I want to see her again. Not for a long time. Okay. Maybe someday. When I'm older. When I can handle it better. But not now. That's completely reasonable. Do you think she really changed? Wren turned off the car, thought about the question. I think she wants to change. Whether she actually does, that takes more time to see. People can say all the right things and still go back to old patterns when they're stressed or angry. So we wait and see. We don't have to wait for anything. You get to decide if you ever want to give her another chance. And if you don't, that's okay too. Lila unbuckled her seatbelt. Good. They went inside. Lila went to her room to decompress. Wren made herself tea and sat at the kitchen table, thinking about the meeting, about Colleen's tears, about whether any of it was real. It didn't matter, she realized. It didn't matter if Colleen had changed or not. What mattered was that Wren had protected her daughter, had given Lila the space to hear an apology without pressure, had let her make her own choice. That night, after Lila was asleep, Wren sat on the back steps, the same steps where they'd eaten birthday cake, the same yard where everything had fallen apart a year ago. She didn't feel victorious. She didn't feel proud of taking revenge or standing up to her mother-in-law. She felt tired, relieved, and strangely peaceful. Some people don't change, she thought. Some families don't heal. But she had learned something important over the past year. Protecting your child doesn't require forgiveness. It doesn't require reconciliation or understanding or making peace with people who hurt you. It only requires resolve. And she had that, in abundance. Enough to last a lifetime if needed. The dog next door barked. A breeze rustled the trees. Stars appeared one by one in the darkening sky. Wren sat there for a long time, breathing in the cool evening air, feeling the solid weight of her choices settling around her like armor. She had done the right thing. For herself, for Lila, for the future they were building together. And that was enough.